Welcome everyone to the Scotland-Malawi Partnership Youth Festival 2021. My name is Eve Brodis and I'm the founder of Fair Trade Scotland, a World Fair Trade organisation guaranteed Fair Trade Importer member. I've been actively involved in fair trade for over 35 years, having held various board positions within the fair trade movement, owning a fair trade shop and becoming a registered importer and licensee with the Fair Trade Foundation. I hope you'll find today's input authentic and engaging, giving you a fresh overview surrounding the key messages about climate action and responsible consumption, and how fair trade is key for consumers. We know educators are short on time and are facing a growing need to embed learning for sustainability into the existing curriculum. And we would love for you to get in touch should you require any further information. So what is climate action and how is fair trade an integral part? The climate crisis is unjust and its impact is felt most severely by those who are least responsible for it. What is responsible consumption and how can we encourage it? As consumers, we have a huge amount of power to make purchasing choices that reflect who we are and how we want the world to be. Partnerships with purpose. We need to move from an economy based on unfair competition to an economy based on cooperation. Fair trade is vital to improve the outcomes for people and planet, delivering the SDGs. And understanding the complexity of the fair trade movement and its many stakeholders is crucial if Scotland, as a fair trade nation, is to set an example during COP26 and beyond. So urgent action is needed to combat climate change. The clock is ticking and it's essential that we act now. Everyone has a role to play in SDG 13. To make informed choices, it is crucial that everyone has up-to-date and accurate information, especially on fair trade and the many different models in the market. Working together to build back fairer. The COVID crisis has shown us not only how interdependent we all are, but also how the destruction of nature, deforestation, as well as the climate and health crises are all interrelated and share the exploitation of people and planet as a common root cause. So climate action, stakeholders working together, working in partnership. The World Fair Trade Organization and Fair Trade International signed a joint statement on the 5th anniversary of the Paris Agreement on the 12th of December 2015, of which Fair Trade Scotland is a signatory. The Paris Agreement, where there's a link below, takes you to more information about that, so please do click on the link below. So the International Fair Trade Charter and a different way to build back fairer. On the 2nd anniversary of the signing of the International Fair Trade Charter, global civil society alliances released a Build Back Fairer statement calling for the transformation of the economy and trade system for a just and sustainable recovery. The link below gives you more information. Just click on the link. Justice, equity and sustainable development. There is a growing awareness of the need for resilient supply chains. But unfortunately, this term is often interpreted from the point of view of corporate buyers that wish to ensure security of supply. From a free market economy to a sustainability agenda to transform supply chains, enabling consumers to make sustainable and affordable consumption choices. So climate action and fair trade. The chart on the left is basically done in the same colours as the Sustainable Development Goals. So the 10 WFTO fair trade principles directly impact on many of the SDGs. So if you look at principle number 10, which is the environment one, and that impacts with SDG 13. We also have SDG 12, which is responsible consumption and production. So we need to tackle the disproportionate imbalance of power in trade, otherwise the climate crisis will not be solved. And I think with the SDGs and especially with the principles, WFTO members are audited against the principles, and these principles impact greatly on the SDGs. So it's really important that we understand how fair trade and climate action go together. So if you just click on the link at the bottom, it goes into more of the fair trade principles. So as Scotland is a fair trade nation and is this year in November hosting COP26, it's crucial that we understand that we can all help to deliver on the global goals and reduce environmental impact by the choices we make. Reducing that environmental impact as consumers, we need to be aware of, for example, the impact that the textile and fashion industry has on the environment, and how exploring how slow fashion helps mitigate climate change. So there's another link to the bottom there on COP26 that you can link into. So responsible consumption and SDG 12. Within your curriculum, there will already be educational links through various subjects. However, it is up to us as individuals to help embed responsible consumption into our lives and extend it into the community where possible. This is not something that is achieved overnight, but today is a good start. We must lead by example, and schools can get in touch with us for more information about how to link these principles into the curriculum in a non-laborious way. We'd like a few words from Joyce, our CEO at Fairtrade Scotland. Just click on the link below. I hope you enjoyed Joyce's video. If there was an issue with any of the content, it is available on our website. So I think getting back to what can we do, responsible consumption. If we continue to consume at the current rate, then we would need the equivalent of almost 3 planets by the year 2050, when the human population reaches 9.6 billion. And it's imperative that our ecological footprint is reduced. But it's equally important to understand that a large share of the global population lives a life where it consumes far too little to even meet their basic needs. Resources are used as if there were no limits. Humanity uses and pollutes water much faster than nature can recycle and purify. 1/3 of the food produced globally goes to waste, and forests, which are the lungs of the planet, that are so crucial for tackling climate change, are being converted into farmland. Clothing and the way it is manufactured and promoted needs to be understood at a level that helps consumers make informed choices. So as a consumer, where do we start to learn about living a sustainable lifestyle? Information is really important. And I think if you'd like to click on the link for WFTO at the bottom, there's lots of resources, there's case studies, there's so much for everybody from, right the way across the spectrum, youth groups, teaching materials. So I suggest that you look there for the resources, and also encourage students and pupils to ask questions. Just don't rely on a label. If it's cheap, obviously if a product is cheap, then somebody is paying a higher price at the start of the supply chain. So looking at slow fashion, which may seem more expensive, but cheaper in the long run. And actually, encouraging that being a consumer, a conscious consumer, can be liberating. It's something you can really, get involved in. And so just check out the resources at WFTO.com. So another part of being a responsible consumer is actually understanding once we buy that product, the stages that have gone through before that product's actually arrived on the shelf or on the clothes hanger that we're going to buy that product from. So we need to look at all the processes, from the farming, the ginning, the spinning, the weaving, the processing, right up to the point where it's manufactured. There is so much laborious tasks that are done in low-wage economies that the story needs to be told. And that's where fair trade comes in, because it tells you about the stories, about the people doing the farming, the people that are doing the ginning, the people that are doing the spinning, and all the families that are being impacted. So it's important to have transparency and accountability, because although the fair trade premium might be paid to the cotton farmer at the start of the supply chain, it doesn't take into account all the other processes and all the people involved. So that is why SDG 12, responsible production and consumption, is key to sustainable economic development. So going from the slide before where it showed you all the different processes, if we look at this at the bottom of the t-shirt here, the textile workers and farmers, they're the ones that are not seen. And it's the textile workers and farmers making the t-shirt that will receive approximately 3 to 4% of the selling price. Now, in Bangladesh, the National Trade Union has been fighting for the rights of garment workers for over 30 years. And it's a ready-made garment industry, and exports in 2020 came to around 34 billion. So as consumers, we need to be thinking about these textiles and workers at the bottom of that supply chain. And that's what fair trade looks at. It looks at and tells a story. And that's, as a consumers, we need to be taking that into account. And then we can add value in that supply chain by focusing on those unseen workers in the supply chain. So partnerships with purpose, these are fair trade organisations and organisations that are actually putting that value back in. So if you look at People Tree, that was started by Safia Mini, and the denim jacket, for instance, is sustainable denim. There's a whole issues around denim, so I would suggest that you look up on People Tree and find out about sustainable denim. Also, Carrie and Summers and Safia Mini, they started up WFTO businesses, and they were pilots for the guaranteed fair trade system. So also that is really interesting, because it means that they are moved on now to Safia Mini doing real sustainability, and Carrie Summers now working with Osola de Castro in Fashion Revolution. And there's some links there to a Guardian article that Osola has just done recently about making your clothes last. Look at the clothes in your wardrobe. So rather than just doing fast fashion and buying fast fashion, let's look at the clothes we've got, make them last, and respect the work that's gone into them. So I think partnerships with purpose, it's so simple just to think that we are just consumers, but we are actually part of that partnership, because now we know that it's not just about buying a brand. If we're buying a brand, we're just picking up the process from the manufactured side as it's exported. But by actually understanding that there are people that are invisible in the supply chain, we can actually tell their story. We're actually now buying into fair trade. We're actually part of a partnership, because we know it's not just about that end product. It's not about having allegiance to a brand. And as educators, already you're talking about inwards, forwards and outwards to students. So we need to take that on board as consumers. It's what we do. We are the partners with these producers, and we have to, in that partnership, ensure that when we spend our pound, when we're actually buying that purchase, that we're actually thinking about the people behind the finished product. So we're not just buying a brand. We're not just picking up something and just, discarding it. There is lives that have been impacted by the money that we are spending on a particular product. So by thinking about it more deeply, we are actually impacting on the lives of these farmers and producers, and that in turn will impact on the climate, because we're not going to waste. We're going to be more thoughtful about how we spend our money. So where does Fair Trade Scotland fit in as a social business? As a long-standing WFTO member, we adhere to the 10 principles, and that is looking behind the product, looking at the people that are making our products, the producers, the farmers. And for us, transparency and accountability, principle number 2, and principle number 10, respect for the environment, are key for climate action, because these producers are the ones using the resources at the start of the supply chain. They're doing a lot of the work on our behalf. So when we buy a fair trade product, we can rest assured that they are already climate friendly. There's certification systems. There's a fair trade mark on the left, and the SPP certification, and Natureland, and Fair for Life. So working in partnership with other certification systems is key. And at the bottom, with Sustainable Development Goals, you got number 12, which is responsible consumption and partnership for the goals. Our business model. Then please do click on the link below, which will take you to our website. So fair trade is really helping to deliver Agenda 2030 through the SDGs. So it's really important that we embrace fair trade. We've just finished Fair Trade Fortnight, so everybody knows about Fair Trade one word. WFTO is a Fair Trade 2 words organisation. It's not a certification system. It's a verification system against the principles. And then we've got Fairly Traded and Ethical Trade. Now, all of these are actors in the fair trade movement. And obviously, if you'd like to know more information, and then we can do that another time. So I think... So thank you for listening. I hope that it's given you some understanding of how fair trade really can impact on our climate, and you can take action by being responsible consumers. And do click on our website and Get Informed portal, follow us on Twitter, and drop us an email. And thank you for listening.